Hey guys, how are y'all doing today? Give me a second to bring these up and we can go ahead and get started on our lecture video. This video I'm going to be talking about interest groups. I'm going to sort it out like this. I'm going to lay out the lecture, the history of interest groups in America, interest groups, are they good or bad, functions of interest group resources, interest group tactics. So I'm going to start off, just a simple definition. An interest group. An interest group is a group of people who share some political goals. They are trying to influence public policy decisions. Does this sound like anything we've talked about recently? Hopefully it does. This should remind you of political party. What's the difference between an interest group and a political party? Remember, a political party, they want to get their party members elected to important positions. They want to control everything. An interest group, they just want to have a little bit of influence on government. They want to influence a small portion of policy. Types of interest groups. We see that there are a number of interest group types out there. I never fixed the animation, so they're going to come up a few at a time. The first type is the business and trade associations. These are simply interest groups that are formed by merchants, creditors, business owners, and other commerce related organizations. Their goal is simply to promote business interest. Examples of business related interest groups include the National Association of Manufacturers, the Chamber of Commerce of the United States. Is there a set size to have an interest group? Does a business have to have a minimum number of people? No, it doesn't. Interest groups represent businesses, whether they are big, whether they are small. It doesn't matter, they will represent all of them. If we're talking about trade associations, we're looking at the American Trucking Association, the American Bankers Association. These are trade associations. They fall under this business interest groups. Labor unions. A labor union is an organization of workers who share the same type of job, or they work in the same industry. Labor unions press for government policies that will benefit their members. The largest in both size and political power is the AFL-CIO. I have the seal right up here. The AFL-CIO. This is the American Federation of Labor, Congress of Industrial Organizations. Once again, the American Federation of Labor, Congress of Industrial Organizations. Organized labor generally speaks with one voice. They want to deal with social welfare, job-related matters. This means they're trying to deal with Social Security program, minimum wages, unemployment, this type of thing. They're trying to benefit their members. Professional associations are professional groups. The professions are generally defined as those occupations that require extensive and specialized training, such as medicine, law. These groups also maintain organizations to protect and promote their interests. So what we're looking at here, if you're a doctor, what group does a doctor belong to? The American Medical Association. a dentist, the ADA, the American Dental Association. If you're an attorney, you're going to belong to the American Bar Association. But yes, so professional groups require extensive and specialized training. So something beyond your 4-year degree. Farm groups, agricultural groups. These interest groups look after the interest of farmers and the government's agricultural policy. They include several broad-based farm groups and a large number of groups that represent farms who raise a particular commodity, such as dairy products, grain, fruit, peanuts, livestock, cotton, wool, corn, soybeans. So these farm groups, these agricultural groups, they're going to represent the farms and ranches that specialize in one crop or in one item, beef, pork, whatnot, or else they're going to represent the farms that raise everything. The most prominent farm groups are the National Grange, the American Farm Bureau Federation, the National Farmers Union. Next one. Racial and ethnic minority groups. Racial and ethnic minority groups exist to represent, to advance the causes of certain racial or ethnic minorities. An example, down here, bottom left, the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Others would be LULAC, L-U-L-A-C, League of United Latin American Citizens. MALDEF is a third example. The Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund. All of these groups exist to represent, they exist to further the rights, if you will, of racial or ethnic minorities. Religious groups. These groups are going to try to influence public policy in regards to religious matters. Examples of these groups include the National Council of Churches, Christian Coalition, the National Catholic Welfare Council, American Jewish Congress, the Anti-Defamation League. Last one, citizen advocacy and cause groups. Citizen groups, we're going to see some double dipping here. And what I mean by that is citizen groups exist to advance the cause of certain segments of society, much like our racial and ethnic minority groups do. The NAACP would be a citizen group. But we can actually get more specific in citizen groups. Citizen groups, they are willing to promote everybody in one group. What I mean by this is, or let me give you some examples so you'll see what I'm talking about. Examples of these groups include the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Association of Retired Persons, the AARP. If we're talking these groups of citizen groups, look at AARP. To join, you have to be over 50. Do they care about race, religion, creed, ethnicity, anything like that? No. All they care about is age. They are willing to welcome any race into their ranks. And it's the same thing with American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. They don't care about race. Race is not their membership idea. All you had to do was be any race and be a veteran. So that's the difference between the racial and ethnic minority groups and the citizen groups. I want to do cause groups because I like to save advocacy for last. It takes me a couple of more minutes. Cause groups. These groups, they exist to promote or oppose a certain cause. Some of these groups, the American Civil Liberties Union, they exist to promote, to make sure that everybody's that everybody's civil liberties are protected. The National Wildlife Foundation, the Sierra Club. What do they protect? Our wildlife, our outdoors. And this is unpopular, but PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They are against animal cruelty in experiments. If we're talking oppose and promote, I can give you an example of a group that opposes and a group that promotes. We'll start off with promote. There's a group out there called, I'm trying to find the name. There we go. The National Right to Life Committee. They are pro-life. The group that opposes them, Planned Parenthood, they are pro-choice. So we see these, this is what I'm talking about when I say they promote or oppose. They can promote their cause, they can work against other groups who oppose them. The last one, advocacy groups. Advocacy groups are different than all these other groups that we've talked about so far. All of these other groups represent only their members. The advocacy group, they represent everybody. They don't care if you want to be a member. They don't care if you want their help. They don't care if you want their representation. They're going to represent you. An example of this, seat belts. In the 1960s, Public Citizen went to the federal government and they said, federal government, if you look at the highway statistics, we see that there are a number of people dying in auto accidents. The most common auto accident is a rear end accident. You are hit from behind. What we saw was that when one car would rear end another, very often it would send the driver of that first car, the car that caused the accident, the car that rear-ended the one in front of it, it would send that driver flying out of the car, killing them in slow, painful ways. So what this group tells the federal government is we can prevent a lot of these needless deaths if you make it mandatory to install safety restraints, seat belts. The government says, okay, that sounds good. So starting around 68, maybe 69, the government mandates seat belts in your vehicle. Do you still have them today? Yes, we do. This is an example of the advocacy group. They are trying to do something for the good of everybody, whether you're a member or not. What we see with these advocacy groups is something called a free rider. You, me, almost everybody. A free rider is simply somebody who benefits from a group's effort, but we don't contribute to it. We don't donate time. We don't donate money to help their cause. So we're free riders in a number of these groups. Interest groups. Are they good or bad? Depends on what you think. There was a French political theorist named Alexis de Tocqueville. About 10 years after the American Revolution, he came over to the United States, traveled around for 3 years. He wanted to see how this new democracy thing was working. So he travels, he takes notes. He goes back to France and he writes a book called Democracy in America. In his opinion, interest groups are good. Interest groups, the ability for people to form into groups, give their opinions, oppose each other, work for what they want. He says this is good. This is an indication of a strong democratic culture. Now, Madison, James Madison, the father of the Constitution, he didn't feel this way. If we look at Federalist number 10, Federalist paper number 10, he warns about the danger of factions. He warns about the dangers of these groups. He's afraid that they're going to take over, they're going to overpower the common person, but he doesn't want to suppress freedoms. He realizes that an individual needs to be free to join an interest group. So what he finally does, how he finally justifies it to himself, is he says these factions, these interest groups, they're okay. Because for a faction that wants something, there's another faction who will oppose it. These factions will butt heads. They will keep a check on each other. They will prevent one group, one interest group, one faction from becoming too strong. Functions of interest group. I'm going to put some of these together. Functions of interest groups, representation and participation. A number of these interest groups exist to represent citizens. They are another way for us to participate, to influence government. They are another way for us to make our voice heard. We can contact individually, or our group can also contact our government, our officials, whatever. Education. I tell people that there's this motto, knowing indicates caring. If I don't know, I don't care. If I don't know there's a problem, there is no problem. It's kind of the same way with interest groups and their education. If they don't let people know there's a problem, there's not a problem. So we see that they have a purpose of education. The first group they want to educate is their members. Let them know, hey, there is something going on, there is a problem with whatever. Once we convince our members, we get our members on board, we're going to go out and educate the public. We want to make this a matter of public opinion, get the public behind us, maybe get more members in our group, but at least get more voices in our group. Make it harder for the government to ignore. Once we get to this point, we want to go educate the government. We want to let them know, hey, there is a problem, but we've worked out a solution. So that's our education. Members, public, government. Last two, I'm going to put these two together. Agenda building, program monitoring. Agenda building, this is simply highlighting problems or issues. Program monitoring, we watch what the government is doing. Interest group resources. There's various groups that can help an interest group be successful. There's various resources, that can help a group be successful. The first is members. As an interest group, we want large, but also politically active members. Think about it. If you represent an interest group, and you're going to go talk to an elected official, and you go up to said elected official, you go up to the senator and say, Senator, my name is Mike, I represent this interest group. We are 10,000 people strong, and dang it, last election 500 of us voted. 500 out of 10,000. 5%. Are you going to strike fear into the heart of this senator? Are you going to make him listen to you? No, you're not. But what if you're able to go up and say, Senator, my name is Mike. I represent interest group X, whatever it is. We are 10,000 strong, and in the last election, 9,900 of us, 9,900 of us voted. Do you think this will grab the senator's attention? Yes, it will. So it's not enough just to have a large interest group. They actually have to be politically active. They actually have to participate so that they can make a difference to the elected official. A number of interest groups will hire lobbyists. Lobbyists, these are just simply paid advocates for the group. These are the ones who will go talk directly to our elected officials, to our senators, to our House members. Next one, political action committees, PACs. What we see, PACs came into existence back in the 1940s. What happened was organized labor was donating a lot of money to elections. They wanted certain people elected who would favor their views, favor their wants and needs. So organized labor is donating money to their candidacy, to their elections. They're getting elected. They're rewarding organized labor. They're writing laws to benefit them. Well, Congress realizes this. So in 1944, we passed the Smith-Connolly Act. The Smith-Connolly Act, it banned direct contributions from organized labor to candidates. So it said that these organized labor groups could no longer directly donate to a candidate. Organized labor says, okay, so this is where we see the creation of the Political Action Committee. It led to the creation of basically a middleman. Organized labor creates a Political Action Committee. They create a PAC. They donate money to the PAC. The PAC turns around and donates this money to the candidate. Did we change anything? No, we didn't. All we did was create a middleman. So in the 40s and 50s, we see labor unions use these PACs. In the 60s and 70s, business groups begin to create these PACs to oppose the strength, to oppose the PACs from organized labor. The 1980s, members of Congress begin creating leadership PACs. Members of Congress in leadership positions. Speaker of the House Majority Leader, House Minority Leader, the whips, committee chairs, and same thing in the Senate. They create their own PACs, so this way they can reward their party members who support them. If they vote the way they want them to, if they help them get their agenda met, they can donate money to their re-election fund. PACs. PACs can give a little bit more than an individual. PACs can donate a maximum of $5,000 per election cycle. Once a PAC is created, it is required to register. It is required to file with, it is required to register with the Federal Election Commission, the FEC, within 10 days of their creation. Although most political action committees would be considered either conservative or liberal, Republican or Democrat, many of them are nonpartisan. They don't favor either political party, They focus on issues instead of the party affiliation. They focus on who's going to help them. Which type of PAC gives the most? This is a graph from a couple of years ago, a pie chart from a couple of years ago. If we looked at all the donations, we see that all of the donations made to politicians, 42% were made by corporate PACs, 22% were made by trade PACs. So a total 64% of donations, PAC donations, were made by business-related PACs. Citizen groups, 28%. Organized labor, now 7%. Agriculture, way in the back, 1%. I have no idea what they donated. Apparently they donated something. Friendly incumbent rule. Interest groups donate to those who can help, even if from the other party. Now, this is a two-part thing. Who are we going to donate money to? The incumbent or the challenger? If we look at the incumbent, they've been in office for a while. We have some sort of relationship with them. We've worked with them. We know what we can expect from them. They know what they can expect from us. We are comfortable. We know that they're going to work with us. Now, the challenger, they may say they're going to work for us, or work with us, excuse me. But are we sure? We're not quite sure what they're going to do. So, with this in mind, who do we donate to? The challenger or the incumbent? The answer is actually both. We're going to take funds, we're going to donate to both. Now, why? It's simple. You're playing the odds. You're betting against yourself. One of them is going to win. One of them is going to be elected. Now, do you give each of them the same amount of money? No, of course you don't. Who has a better chance of winning? The incumbent. So you give the incumbent more money. The incumbent wins, and you go up to the incumbent and you say, "Hey, I knew you could do it. I had faith in you. This is why I donated to your campaign. This is what I would like in return." Do you tell the incumbent that you donated to their challenger? No, you don't. I hope you don't. Now, if the challenger wins, you go up to the challenger and say, "Hey, I had faith in you. I knew you could do it. That's why I donated to your campaign. This is what I want from you." Do you tell the challenger that you donated to the incumbent? No, you don't. That way, whoever wins, you can say, "I supported you, I had faith in you, let's work together." Super PACs. Super PACs are also known as Independent Expenditure Only Committees. Super PACs came into existence in a 2010 Supreme Court decision called, Citizens United. Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. So, Super PACs came to an existence due to a Supreme Court decision called Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. What the court ruled was that by limiting the amount of money you could donate to a candidate, this was a violation of free speech. Donating money is First Amendment freedom of speech, so if we limited that, we were limiting a person's or companies or corporations' freedom of speech. So the Super PAC, they are different from PACs. A PAC can raise unlimited amounts of money. Excuse me, a super PAC can raise unlimited amounts of money. A PAC can raise limited amounts. The super PAC can spend unlimited sums to campaign for or against political candidates. Actually, let me get back to, I'm going to go over something else and get back to how they're alike than how they're different. If super PACs can raise unlimited money, but they can't donate to a candidate, what good are they to you as a candidate? Well, they can't donate to you directly, but they can use this money to support your election, your candidacy. They can use this money to buy airtime, to run ads on television praising you, running down your opponent, buy radio ads, use this money websites, internet. They cannot give this money directly to you, but they can use it to support your candidacy. Okay, pay attention. This is what I want. What does a PAC and a super PAC have in common? Very simple. They both must register with the FEC. They both must register with the Federal Election Commission. That's it. That is the only common characteristic they share. Differences. A PAC, a Political Action Committee, is limited in the amount of money they can raise. They are limited in the amount of money they can donate. But they can donate directly to the candidate. The super PAC can raise unlimited funds, but they may not directly donate to a candidate. So those are the differences, and that's the commonality. Interest group tactics. We see that there are different tactics that the interest group will use to try to advance their agenda, to advance their influence. The first is direct lobbying. This is targeted at policymakers. We're going to send our lobbyists, these paid advocates, to go talk directly to our officials and tell them why they support us. Grassroots lobbying. Remember I said we had to have a large politically active membership? Grassroots lobbying, this is the rank and file members. This is the everyday, the mom and pop members. They have to be willing to contact their representatives, write letters, make phone calls. Let our representatives know how we feel. Information campaigns. This is simply bringing group views to the public's attention. We're going to let the public know why there is an issue. The last is coalition building. One group feels there's a problem. Another group says, hey, there's a problem. Lo and behold, they're the same problem. So this coalition building, these two groups, possibly more, they're going to join forces, join resources. They have more money, have more manpower. They have more stroke with political clout with the number of people. They're going to push their agenda. Now, if we look at these four, direct lobbying, grassroots lobbying, information campaigns, coalition building, which one of these has the shortest shelf life? Which one of these actually is going to last the least amount of time? The answer, coalition building. These multiple groups, they form a coalition, they join together. But what happens once they meet their goal? Well, they set new goals. So if Group A sets a new goal, and Group B sets a new goal, and Group C sets a new goal, is there any guarantee that the goal of A, B, and C are going to be the same? No, there's not. So while we may be working today, once we meet our goal, once we get accomplished what we want, we're going to break apart. Our little alliance is going to disperse, disband, and we're on our own. Thanks a lot, guys.